What is up, everybody? It's your boy Nerdy Rich back on the Nerdy Rich channel. Now we're finally reviewing the newest movie I have seen, and that is Terrifier 3. So this one, as I said in the original video, if you've seen the first one, my girlfriend accidentally bought the tickets for this a day earlier. We were supposed to see it that Friday. We ended up seeing it Thursday night, and we both had a great time seeing this movie. This is a really fun movie. It's not my favorite. It's my second favorite. I still love 2, then 3, and then 1 in that order. But I really did enjoy this movie. First off, before I even start this, if you have a problem with kids getting killed in movies, do not watch this movie. If you have a problem with gore, you shouldn't even be watching this franchise, because they get gorier and gorier by each movie, to the point where they literally just up everything in this movie with the kills, how graphic it is, and stuff like that. And they also answer some questions from the previous 2 movies. And they also give characters bigger roles that they didn't have in the other 2 movies. The biggest character who had a bigger role this time around was Victoria. Victoria was introduced in the very first movie because she was the sister of one of the victims of the movie. And then, of course, we found spoilers for the first 2 movies. Obviously, spoilers. She gets attacked by Art. She survives. Brutally beat up the lady that was interviewing her. Obviously, the lady didn't die, and then of course she gets locked up. And of course, if you've seen the end credit scene in part 2, we know that she birthed Art's head. And then obviously Art at the beginning of the movie goes back for his head, and that's how he came back to life. And one of the biggest shock of the movie is that this whole movie takes place 5 years later. Now, originally I was thinking, okay, this is going to take place like 2 months later, being that this is a Christmas movie. So I'm like, okay, that makes sense. Art, comes back to life. He probably chills around for like 2 months, and then he goes on a killing spree again. Perfectly fine. No, they're like, no, we're going to do 5 years later. So there's a part where Art literally, after the event of the second movie, gets his head back and everything, free Victoria. He goes back into his lair. He starts setting up a little bit. She gets herself situated, and then something happens to her. And then he just sits in a chair for like 5 years. Because when we get to see Sienna and her brother, who, spoiler for the second one again, they both survived the second movie, and they're living their lives. Sienna just got out of rehab and stuff like that because of everything that happened, dealing with her traumas and stuff like that, which she's still dealing with, because we find out, she's still seeing her dead friend from the previous movie and everything like that. So, of course, her uncle picks her up, and she was brought over to her other family, her other side of the family. And of course, she has a baby cousin that she's, looking after, help look after and stuff like that. And she's trying to just move away from the whole Art thing. But of course, she quickly finds out that Art has been killing again, because he eventually does wake up after 5 years. And he immediately goes on a killing spree along with Victoria, who is now working with Art. And then, of course, they go on a little killing spree. And basically until they run back into Sienna, and then they have their whole big thing. One of the things that I disliked about this movie, even though I do like, this is my second favorite, is how the final act just happens. It's like something happens with Sienna previously, and then Sienna is just out the way, and then of course we get set up for her brother to meet up with the rest of the family. And of course we know Art is around the area, but it doesn't show what happened between the 2 scenes leading into the final act. So Sienna eventually wakes up, and then the final act just happened, to the point where me and my girlfriend were just sitting there like, okay, is is this a dream? Because it feels more like a dream because how fast the final act just happened. Like everything had a good pace, a good setup and everything. Of course, Art's going around killing people, doing his thing, doing a lot of gory stuff. Everything was paced very well until the end because it felt like he just wanted to just end the movie so he can go and finish filming it and everything so he can go start working on the next movies. And it's like it answered questions, a ton of questions, but it's still a lot left, especially what happens in the movie that sets up the fourth one and beyond, which I'm not going to spoil, but that was mostly it. Everything else in the story was pretty straightforward. Art comes back to life. Art sits around for 5 years. He wakes up and immediately starts killing people. And of course, Victoria is around doing things now. But I'm not the fan of how they explain what happens to her. I get why it's important because part two set up a big battle between something's gonna happen later on between her and like something else. I'm not gonna say what it is because it will be a huge spoiler, but something else, and it's gonna happen much later on. But the characters, at least this time around, especially our returning characters, are great. I love that they deal with the trauma plotline much better than most horror movies. And I like that, once again, Sienna gets right back into it. As soon as her and Art get a chance to have a fight, she doesn't stop until she can do whatever she can to hurt this man once again. But I'll talk more details about certain things when it comes to characters because there are some characters that really disappointed me, and especially you're like, okay, why is this character getting to do a lot? And it seemed like we're setting up something big for them, and then nothing happened. The new characters are all fine, like the uncle. I really did not like. He was an asshole. He was a real just dick for like no reason. Even after knowing the stuff she went through. The little girl, the cousin, she was very sweet, a very good good foil with Sienna, and of course Sienna is just amazing. I mean, she's one of the best new final girls we have in like a really long time. Art is still as awesome as ever. He's just doing his thing. Victoria is a hit and miss with me, but I'll talk more on that later. And the aunt, I actually really like her a lot. I like that she acts like a mother figure to Sienna, especially since she knows everything that happened in the previous movie. So I like that. I really love the chemistry between the characters. That's what really made it. And I really, like I said, the story is fine. But other than that, it's like, that's it. It's fine. The creator really gotta really lock in more with the story. The kills are still as good as ever. He's always gonna do great practical stuff. All three movies had nothing but practical effects, which I really love. But that's it. It's like it's still the kills. The only thing is now we're starting to get more stuff with the story, but it still doesn't fully answer anything. And we're starting to put pieces together, but it's like we just need one more push. Now, to answer this question before we go to the character portion, should there be more than... Should it be one more Terrifier movie or should it be a few more? In my humble opinion, I feel like they can wrap up the story in two movies. Now, the only reason why, because the next movie should literally fully finish up everything that has to do with mostly Art himself, because I feel like Art as a character is kind of getting overplayed a little bit because it's like he's just mostly about the kills and stuff like that. Then this movie should really answer who the hell was Art when he was just a regular person, why did Art keep coming back to life, more in details, and then basically setting up the full final battle between Sienna and something else other than Art, because her and Art are always going to have a beef with each other until, you know, whatever she can do with him. But that's really it. I want more lore when it comes to the other things that's going to become very important later on. And I'm trying to keep it vague. But if you've seen the two movies, you know what I'm talking about. But yeah, that's really it. I feel like he can wrap it up in two. I don't want it to go past like 5, because I feel like if you push it to like 3 more movies, it's gonna just lose its appeal, because after a while we're all gonna get bored, because it's like the story is already not the strongest thing in the world, And the kills are gonna still be interesting, but after a while, we're gonna get bored of the kills because it's like, okay, Art's doing this, Art doing that, yada 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 yada. So I feel like yes, definitely the next movie should set up. It should be the final setup movie. Like this is it. When everything in this movie sets up everything, and then the fifth movie should be the finale movie. We're wrapping everything up because I feel like that's gonna be it. Do not drag the character out longer than you need to. Finish answering out the last bit of stuff, and then the final movie is just wrapping up everything all together. Overall, I did still enjoy the movie. So let's talk about Art the Clown. So Art the Clown in Terrifier 3, he is after the events of Terrifier 2, he was able to track down Victoria and get his head back because Victoria, spoilers for the end of that movie, in the end credit scene, she burps Art's head. So he reattaches his head and he takes Victoria, the victim from the survivor of the first movie, and they ended up going back to Art's lair, and Art ends up sitting around for about 5 years while Victoria does something to herself, and then that completely changed what Victoria will be for the rest of the movie later on. So after 5 years later, as Christmas is going along, we see these guys coming into Art's lair, and they find him, and they thought it was weird that this thing is just sitting there. So at first they didn't know what it was. They didn't know it was a person or a dead body, or was it just a mannequin, which of course we know is Art the Clown. He wakes, kills the guy, and we find out something happened to Victoria, and then they go along on their killing spree. So as Art is just going around messing with people as usual, he's also planning to eventually find Sienna and go after them once again, but he's having a little bit of fun before he can. Now what makes Art so brutal in this one is that he is not afraid to kill kids. Like straight off the bat, he kills a ton of kids. His kills are just as brutal as ever, and I like that he's just having more fun with it. Like he's having a great time just doing what he loves, and that's killing people. Still such an entertaining slasher villain, and I hope that we get to learn more about his character, especially in the next movie coming up. And let's get Victoria out the way. Victoria this time around, we get to see a lot of her in this movie, but it's weird because there are two versions of her. There's the one we've seen from Terrifier 1 and 2, and then there's a new version of her that happens strictly only in this movie. And the different version of her, the different version of her is going to play a huge part because it gives us hints to what Art is, and also why Sienna is so important for this entire franchise. And I do like that about the character. I like that they're playing a much bigger role, even though I kind of wish we saw more of the original Victoria, but that's all I can really say without heavy spoilers. But they do a good job in getting everything ready and set up for the final act. And of course, let's get to Jonathan. Jonathan in this movie, we get to see a lot of his PTSD for everything that happened in the previous movie. Of course, spoilers for the second one, his mother was killed that night. So he had his friends were killed, and multiple people were killed throughout that night. And of course, he was brutally attacked by Art and also his sister. But he's managed to slowly start to move on. He's in college. He is trying to get over everything. But of course, Sienna does eventually gets out of the mental ward, and she's trying to get in contact with him because she has a feeling that Art is coming back and he will be coming after them again. So she's trying to get him to come back to where she is, being with their uncle and auntie's house and their cousin's house. So this way they can all be together. So when Art comes, they can all fight together to defeat him once again. But obviously something happens to him, and then that completely goes out the window. Or do we think so? Because there's something that happens to him. I'm not going to spoil, but it's kind of weird. So that's the reason why I'm just mixed about it, because I don't know for sure until we get the next movie. The next movie, hard confirm it, then I'll say that once I do that review, when that movie comes out. And the next character we're going to talk about is our beloved final girl, Sienna. Sienna this time around, I love that we do get to see her PTSD. We get to see she's having visions of her dead friends that died in the previous movie. And we like that throughout the movie she is trying to protect her baby cousin from Art and trying to get her brother to try to figure out a way to fully defeat Art once and for all, because she has a sneaky feeling that he's not really gone. And we also get to learn a little bit more about their backstory with their father. We get to learn a little bit more about why Sienna is so important to defeat Art. and the thing that's also helping Art to attack her and her family. So I really do like that. I like that she always gets herself together in time, and she always gives Art a good fight. And I love the way that they set up the next storyline for her in this movie. They really do a great job with that. And the final character I'm going to talk about is actually the cousin. The cousin in the movie, she, I'm going to probably put her name up somewhere because I don't remember the name off the top of my head. I really like the character. I like that she's a very curious character. She wanted to know why Sienna was going through everything she went through in the previous movie. She wanted to know more about Art and stuff like that. Why was she brutally attacked and everything. And I like that it gives her a character to latch onto, because in the previous movie she had her brother, but they were always in the scene together. Her cousin is always there, and they actually do something really cool with the character that's going to set up the next movie. And I really like her as a character. She was an annoying kid character. She was very cool, very calm, and just a very funny character. And I like that, Sienna has a way to express her feelings of everything that happened between the 5 years between the two movies. And we as the audience get to catch up more easily with that just through dialogue. And they really done a great job with that. And that's pretty much all the characters I could talk about. I could talk about the aunt or the uncle, but that's all I really want to talk about for here. But they really do a good job this time around with the characters. The story is really starting to ramp up and pick up a lot more throughout this film. So I definitely cannot wait to see more of Terrifier. Hopefully the next movie and probably the fifth movie will be the last two, because I feel like they can wrap up everything in less than two movies. I don't feel like we should go any further than that, at least for now. If they do decide later on to bring back Art, have them go after a different group of characters and have a whole different group of adventures somewhere else, but leave the Sienna storyline alone here, that would be great. But overall, I did enjoy this movie a lot. This is my second favorite of the Terrifier movies. Terrifier 2 is still my personal favorite. But let me know down below in the comments. What is your favorite Terrifier movie? What are your favorite kills, favorite moments, or just anything? Leave your theories and thoughts down below. And I will catch you guys later. This is your boy, Nerdy Rich, signing out. And I'll catch you guys later. Peace.